hear me good. There's no danger of anything.
No, I don't think it's danger. I'm telling you what your opposition will say.
no, hear me. I'm accustomed to this, you know. What you have just said there, I'm accustomed to this.
Me I'm going to court with you, you know.
There's nothing illegal being said here. There's nothing illegal being said.
You know what the ruling government does.
Right.
They always hear things differently.
I'm not really concerned about people with those. I'm not really concerned with those people with those ideas and
Shirley is saying something here
that are not well grounded and steeped in fear mongering and all of that. Look, for instance, Britain pulled out from the European Union, and you see how respectful they were. They realized that is the right of the British people, and they were very respectful, so that they're allowing them to work out whatever deal they want, and they give them.
That's a sovereign relationship. We don't have that right now.
Not from the perspective of sovereignty I was talking about. I wasn't speaking very personally. I'm just speaking about how people respect one another, right? And they realize you're right to constitute in the way that you want to constitute, and they give you time to do it too. They didn't say, all right, Britain, you want to go? Well, we just cut you off and you go. No. And this country is something to
I have something I want to ask you. Very poignant. I want to ask you something very poignant right now. Yeah, where do we go from here?
Well, I'm telling you, where we are going from here is into the union that I've just described. In official language, political language, it is called a confederation, just as what exists in the OECS countries here. That is what it is. Dr. Duke was asking a very good question. Because
so my question ain't good?
No, I'm not saying that. No, she's asking, and it's something that I've been thinking about.
Here's my thought, right? I thought where you were headed was saying that instead of a prime minister of Trinidad and Tobago, you had a governor of Trinidad, a governor of Tobago, and a president of Trinidad and Tobago. But you're saying no.
No, not that. When I just run
in an equal unit model, that's what Trinidad and Tobago should have. For an equal unit model.
I have pondered on that for a very long time because I don't know why in this that can't work.
Why not?
Hello, let's try.
Right? The audience would want to know. They would want to know why.
I'm saying it's a fair question, so I'm going to answer the question. Because I come up with all kind of different permutations. All right. Let's suppose you have a Trinidad government, you have a Tobago government, right? How are you going to constitute now a parliament or a legislature of Tobago and Trinidad?
Simple. You do that weighted model that you described, right? So you have your Congress versus you have your because again, Trinidad governs itself. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but Trinidad governs itself. Tobago governs itself, and then the president heads a legislature of selected members, and you weigh it. You do a weighted thing based on each person's contribution, just like you said. Nevada has a population of 3 million, and yet Nevada sends 2 senators to the U.S. Senate, right? Texas has a population that's 20 times that size. I mean, let's go with California. California has a population that's almost 50 times the size of Nevada, and still California gets 2 senators. So it requires extreme, complete constitutional reform. But even that is going to blow people's minds. So that's why I'm asking, how many people do you see then going for your model, which is a complete sovereign model?
But let us discuss at this stage, your suggestion, right? So you have to have a Tobago legislature. You agree with that? Do you agree with that, Dr. Duke?
Sorry, I was distracted. Can you repeat your question?
Right. So you're going to have a Tobago legislature, right?
Yes.
From your model, you're going to have a Tobago legislature because that will exist in America. Each state has its own legislature, and the states as a whole also have the United States legislature, which is called.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. That's the weighted model.
Are we gonna do away with the Tobago House of Assembly then?
Well, no, in that model, the Tobago House of Assembly stays, but actually expands, right? Because instead of these 12 current seats, you'd actually break it up some more. Your so-called chief secretary becomes the governor of Tobago, and this current prime minister of Trinidad is the governor of Trinidad. And then, you know, you have, going back to your council model. Anyway, that's just me being devil's advocate.
Right. But I want to respond to it.
Yes, go ahead.
So let's look at it. So you have each country having a legislature, and then you have the two together now having a legislature, true or false? Right. So that I'm saying now, what will we have?
Yes, you'd have a federal legislature. So
yes, a federal legislature,
yes,
right?
Which is so it's like the United States, right? So for example, the governors are in charge of the National Guard. But the military, the president is in charge of the military, right? So governors are in charge of their state troopers, their National Guard, etc. And yes, for example, if you think of the National Guard, the Pentagon still administrates a lot of what happens to the National Guard, but only a governor has the power to activate the National Guard. And
so would we have our own army in Tobago?
Well, that would be the thing, unless they also signed a protectorate agreement, right? They could do that. There are places that have done that. It's like Japan doesn't have a military, right? And they're a sovereign nation, but they don't have a military.
Because of
what they agreed
because of Hiroshima.
Because of World War II. That's what they agreed to, right? And so there are layers to that. But the first question is, what's the general model? And so if we're talking sovereignty, is it sovereignty within a unified state, or is it sovereignty in a trade relationship, which is what the European Union ultimately became? And now it's, you know, they tried to move to a unified monetary system, etc. And they said, okay, that doesn't work for us because of the value of our system. But they were always still separate. Right?
All them truckers, where all the truckers in the trade that was to park up.
They decide they don't like being equal. They'd rather re-elevate. Yes, similar things, right? But I think that's where the clarification, because if you're to educate the Tobagonian people about the meaning of this, there needs to be transparency.
No, what's happening here, Dr. Duke, this is now new to you in Tobago. I'm not now saying listen. I'm saying this a long time.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing how long you said it, but remember the audience might be new to you.
Well, even though the audience is new, but I'm saying Tobagonians are familiar with this. And I'm saying, well, I haven't had the chance to examine your model, because I have toyed with your model. That's the model I'd come up with first. And I'm saying to you, in my judgment, it would not achieve the Trinidad and the Tobago objective. And not only that, it is very difficult to construct. How are you going to elect the president or the leader of Tobago and Trinidad? That's one. I tried to come up, I checked certain maths teachers and so on, and they could not come up with a formula, because you have to have election. You have to have election in Tobago, you have election in Trinidad. With Trinidad's bigger population, how are you now going to elect the leader of Tobago and Trinidad? And the thing is it really necessary? Why we need an umbrella, an executive umbrella for Trinidad and Tobago to legislate?
Do you think the majority of the voting public would agree with how you want to handle it?
So hold on. You see what happened here? I'm not going to finish one question, and we jumping. So let us look at the merit of having what we still call a no civilized country could have one person's name before. That's one thing. Trinidad name has no right to be called before Tobago. So civilized people don't do that. Right? So that, how do we construct the center? Because you have a Tobago government, you have a Trinidad government. How do we now construct the center? How do we elect the president? How do we now elect the legislators? And to deal with what responsibilities? Because in America, the federal government is not all that large, you know. The federal government deals with certain responsibilities. And because it's 50 states, they could have that. So they each state send 2 to the Senate, which is the upper house. So you could have a real legislator there. And in the lower house, where they have some states are bigger than some have 5 representatives, some have 3. I've studied this a long time. And that is to ensure that a pool of people is properly represented, right? So they will introduce bills there, but no laws are made in the Congress at the lower house. The laws now are now finalized in the upper house where there's a partnership. In Tobago and Trinidad, you only have 2. Let's suppose now, America used 2 in the upper house. Would we now have a 4-seat legislature in Trinidad and Tobago? I would say that I've thought about it. It wouldn't work. The next thing, you want to continue with Trinidad and Tobago. How are we now going to do the selectors for the sporting teams? Would Tobagonian ambition and aspiration really be satisfied? Because what is going with Trinidad and its bigger population and so on is also outside there. What's going to happen? Trinidad will continue to dominate Tobago. I have no doubt about that. And what's going to happen? You might better have one Tobagonian going through and so on. But however, I'm saying that to have a central government for Trinidad and Tobago, which is difficult to constitute and construct, it's unnecessary. You still have a relationship between Tobago and Trinidad, where we share the same currency, where we have freedom of movement between Tobago and Trinidad, freedom of trade. You still have these things. You still have the Caribbean airline. The only thing now, we are going to justly constitute those things at the center. We are going to justly, so that it's a win-win situation if people really think about it and understand. Your sportsmen are going to thrive. Tobagonians overnight will have total control over our resources in the sea that they have robbed us over the years and telling lies and saying that we have nothing in Tobago. We have actually gained there's no need for a central government really. There's no need for it really, if you really think it out. Smaller islands right in the Caribbean here, St. Kitts and Nevis have a population at just about 20-something thousand people. St. Kitts and Nevis together, right? And they have representatives, at least Nevis, on the West Indies cricket team, and they are doing fine. Tobago is one of the bigger Caribbean islands. We just grow up in this system and become deceived by it. It's not working for us, and it will never work really. You know what I'm saying? Tobago's population is not genuinely 60-70,000 people. The Tobagonians just keep fleeing from here. Tobago's real population about 200-something thousand. The day we construct this and we start to see about Tobago here, from day one, the population is going to stay really. So the population is going to increase. Tobagonians in Trinidad and across the world will be coming back home. Trinidad is becoming a very murderous, uncontrollable society. People are afraid to come out of the doors in Trinidad down there. The future here, Tobago is the future of the Caribbean. Our population in Tobago, in Trinidad must come back. Of what benefit really of maintaining a nation called Trinidad and Tobago and having a central government for Tobago and Trinidad, as I'm saying that it cannot be constructed? Of what benefit is that to the people of Tobago or even Trinidad? Of what benefit of that?
Where do we go from here?
So I'm saying to you, where do we go from here? I can only give you my suggestion. I'm submitting that to the Tobago population. Being under Trinidad is a no-no. Being under Trinidad is a no-no. You have given up yourself to Trinidad. And let me say this, I'll say it. Here what is going to happen. And it's all about colonizing. Being under Trinidad is continuing colonization. It's continuing colonization. Internal self-government and the autonomy that they are talking about is under Trinidad and is a maintenance of colonization. The Trinidad Parliament will be superior to that of Tobago and still make Trinidadians are sovereign and Tobagonians are not sovereign. But the PNM have perhaps won their last election. Trust me. They have perhaps won their last election. There's a history of Mauritius, the history of Guyana, the history of Fiji. The people of East Indian ethnicity, they came in after and they outpopulate and outnumber the original population. These are facts that I'm telling you. It happened in Mauritius, it happened in Fiji, and it has happened in Guyana. And the other ethnicity, all we're talking about democracy, there's no democracy here. And there's no party politics in Trinidad. What you have is two ethnicities fighting for dominance because that's what we inherit from England. So it has turned out here to be a constitution of greed and dominance.
So who is part of the 1%?
Right. So here is the 1% is basically the PNM. In the PNM, they control the African plantation. No, I'm being real here. Sometimes we shy away from these issues. But this is the reality that is facing us. And that is the future. And these people sense it, All the businesses are controlled by the 1% and the East Indians. The Africans have nothing. The PNM is a total disaster. It has wasted away its own value. The African people are afraid because they have nothing. They have nothing. Anytime you go to buy, you're going by some different ethnicity. You're going by some, thanks for the corrections, you're going by some other ethnicity to buy from. The Africans have nothing. They have no business. They have been poorly educated. The education system did not liberate them. So think of it. They have no business. They have no money. And they will not control the government either.
So where are we going? Where are we going now with the Chinese? Where are we going with now with the Chinese? Where are we going now with the Chinese? Yes,
I'm here. Let me respond. The future of Trinidad will be forever in an East Indian dominated government, just like in Guyana, just like in Fiji, just like in Mauritius. If Tobago stays under that warped idea, Tobago will also be under that government. And if you feel well able, give them unbridled power. Just as how the PNM had unbridled power for years. When you give a man unbridled power, he dominates you, he destroys you. When you see power is not checked and cannot be checked, it becomes destructive. And what's the reason for that? So we would have come here.
So are we gonna take this form of language down concerning the Indians and the
no, listen to me.
No. I as the host of this show, I would like us to move away from we have to.
I'm saying
we have you're answering me, but I think we are taking this in a different direction. We're not ready for that tonight. That's a different level right now.
Listen to me.
No, we are going to take it. No, because then when we speak this way, we are doing as if where the Indians are now or what they are doing, like if they have to be blamed now for being where they are. We're not going to. Let us talk. No.
Let me listen.
Let us talk the way we started to talk. Let us don't isolate races. I just bring in the 1% because all my life talking, I think the 1% is comprised of the Middle Easterns and stuff like that. We're not going to take this to that area yet. We are still here. How are we going to do better for Tobagonians? And what can Tobagonians learn so that they will vote differently?
Listen to me. The greatest act of racism and domination in Trinidad and Tobago is who wins Trinidad controls Tobago. Tobago is suffering from the greatest domination, apartheid, racism in the constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. But I suppose that is okay. Nobody's been offended.
Dr. Duke want to tell you. Duke want to say something to you.
I don't want people to misunderstand me.
Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. We're not going to mix up. We're not going to mix up our topic. We can't mix our topic up and bring race now as the conversation. Dr. Duke want to say something to the both of us.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you guys, you're at 1 hour and 45 minutes. Your conversation today, per the notes I got, was about constitutional reform and what autonomy looks like in Mr. James's purview, which is why I came on to help drive the conversation back to that, because that was supposedly the intent of today's show. I do want to make it clear that this show is in no way even upset with the 1%. There's no upset here. The truth is, even if Tobago became a sovereign state, Tobago already has a 1% that's clamoring to become their 1%. And it's not even on race. There's economic 1%, and there's a lot of percentages that go into place. I think
our health system.
Today's conversation, as my understanding per the notes I received, was intended to really flesh out the last 2 episodes into this one, the discussion of autonomy and what does autonomy. and self-governance mean. Today, it sounds like autonomy and self-governance includes sovereignty. And so that's wonderful to have added that to the conversation and what it means. It sounds like you guys may need a fourth show.
No, we have one more plan next week.
To flesh out what sovereignty means. For those in the audience who are saying that I'm not allowing him to speak, that is not true. But we have a show, right? This isn't a backyard conversation. It's a show. And there's a timeline to be followed. And as the producer, I have to make sure that happens before the show ends, because there was an intent and a goal for the show. So that was why that happened, and we needed to come back because the show is
pull it back. We can't do what we want.
Not an instrument to misconstrue, but to have conversations and have conversations on a level of transparency. So 13 minutes before the show has to end, because Coco, apparently you have to go somewhere.
Yes. Brother James, continue speaking, but we're going to leave.
No,
we're gonna leave the races out, because in Tobago, no Indians and get no power. We have Indians that are born and grow in Tobago. They walk. Listen a little bit, and then you will have all the time. Don't look frustrated to make the audience believe that we're not giving you a fair chance. No.
Well, right now it's looking like he's getting beaten down by two women. It does look unfair, Mr. James, and that's not true.
Mr. James, put your face good. And stop covering your face and look. You are a man. You're a man of power. You're a man that could talk. We have to talk to you, because we read the comments, and I know what kind of show I want to have. I don't want this to lead away, and we're not where we're supposed to be. We are here to speak about the legislation. We're here to speak about the change of rules and laws. What you are saying, I was just asking you, where do we go from here? You see, I don't have the patience for semantics. You see, all my life, I've been hearing people and hearing you fighting to get your point across. I want you to get your points across. I listen to Orville London. I listen to Jeff Davidson. I listen to Basil Pitt. I listen to Wilbert Winchester. I listen to Orville London again, because it's 4 years. And no one could explain to us about internal self-governance or secession. You are the one that I want to speak about it. And let us stay within our space and deliver to the people. We want to change the voting. We want to change young people's attitude. No, me mother born PNM, so me got dead PNM. Your mother born suffering in Tobago, and you are coming now with your children suffering in Tobago, because Tobago not well represented. Let us speak on that. Take the floor.
Right, so let me see. I don't want...
Where do we go from here?
You hear me out, Mama Coco?
Yes.
I give you all a chance to speak, and you all express yourselves quite freely and frankly, and I shall like the same opportunity.
You're right? Getting the same. Why are you saying that?
Hold on. Because there has been a perception, and it is not correct, that I am speaking race. I am no racist.
No, we ain't say you're speaking race. I'm just telling you.
Hold on.
Let us bring it back.
So hold on. I am dealing with the reality of life. My position is that the Tobagonian must govern the Tobagonian. My position is that each ethnicity must govern themselves. That's my position. I believe that's how God designed the world. God doesn't want me to rule over you or you to rule over me. We have inherited a British culture and a British constitution, but we are in Tobago and Trinidad a plural society. So it is generating certain attitudes in a particular context. So you have the Tobagonian with his own history and identity. You have the Afro-Trinidadian with his own history, identity, and sensitivity and objectives. You have the Indo-Trinidad, this is a reality, with their own history, identity, and objective also. That's what I'm saying. And right now, what you have here is these three elements. You have two in the sense of Tobago and Trinidad, and then when you look at it broader, you have three elements. You have Tobago has its own sensitivity. You have Afro-Trinidad, and that is going on. And you also have Indo-Trinidad. And I'm saying you are putting all of that into one constitution. And in all of that, Tobago has never had self-government. But let me listen to this. When the PNM are in power, Afro-Trinidad feel as though they are independent. But Indo-Trinidad won't feel so. When Indo-Trinidad are in power, Afro-Trinidad feel that they don't have any independence, and Indo-Trinidad feel as though they have independence. I'm just talking about the realities. So I was not introducing, so I don't want, because
well, we have a show. We have a show on race, and you are part of that show,
right?
Listen.
Because I find
that's what I'm saying. You have the time to bring those things up.
What I'm saying.
But right now we are speaking.
I was dealing with here. No, don't let me misunderstand me. I was dealing in the context of the Constitution, so that we are fitting three elements into the same Constitution. Tobago is the smallest element in the Constitution. That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand how we move from where we are, and now we're going into this race topic. I am speaking about Tobago and where Tobago stand when it comes to governance right now, and what we want to do.
Claire,
in Tobago.
People don't have to agree with me.
So that the 6-6, listen, the 6-6 now have nothing to do with Indian and Negroes right now, you know. With 6-6, I don't think so. I think Farley and Watson need to hear from you, giving them advice on how to move to get away from what Keith Rowley is trying to do about the 6-6. Can we get to that point with our closing statements? This is the show today. We have show on racism.
I know. I see you're putting that on me again.
No.
I don't want to put it on me.
I'm not putting that on you. Yeah. I am just telling you, we have to stay focused.
Let's have him speak. Take a breather. He said unequivocally, it's not that. Just let's.
Cindy, you don't come in with this. Take a breather. I am taking a breather.
You're running on your time.
I am trying to bring our conversation back to Tobago and internal self-governance. We moved to the point where you said you're not saying secession, but you are saying that we need complete governing in Tobago. Let's go back there. Family, let's go back there.
I hope I've not miscommunicated. And I know people are, hold on, hear me. I know people are sensitive. People have their own prejudices. I'm aware because I'm in the politics and I know these things. But I'm always careful that the wrong impression is not had from the things that I say in all fairness and in all honesty. And what I was representing here and warning is the Tobagonian from the realities that have happened in the world, because it is because of those.
Bring back our topic to Tobago.
Tobago needs to make the kind of move Tobago needs to make. But regardless of what God is going to take to So that
bring back Tobago. We want you to tell us your ideas,
and
we're gonna hear you.
And because I don't want here to be appear to be biased against PNM. I don't know that. I don't want to be here to appear here to be biased against PNM. I am aware of what all elements of Trinidad and what they think and what's their attitude towards Tobago. But to answer your question, I'm saying that because Tobago's prejudice is not coming from PNM Trinidad alone. I'm absolutely certain about that. I'm absolutely certain about it.
Speak.
The two sides of Trinidad have the same attitude towards Tobago, and the history is there to show that.
I wonder why Ruth Prasad didn't really stay calm and stop writing up things. Nobody not against Mr. You see this right now? Mr. James, can you give us your closing statement tonight?
So that, the amendment bill before well, it has passed, and there is this mindset that Tobago's destiny is an act, powerless, or having some power, but you're already powerless below Trinidad. So the fact that they have gone to 15 seats to make sure that it has an odd number,
yes,
given the chief secretary the power to call election. So in case the election a future election comes down in a tie and the House is not constituted within 14 days, that is what is written in the bill that was passed and it was assented to by the president. Their intention is to make it retroactive in order to send Tobagonians back to the poll. So I'm saying by inference, what it means is that they have decided, and remember, Dr. Rowley was part of the election campaign, and he should not really be the one to be the arbiter. He can't come up with a solution. He is biased because he was in the campaign, his party was here, and he came here to lead the campaign. So they have their own biases and their own prejudices. So that what they have, the bill, Tobagonians may not know that. In the bill, and they have it now as the local government and Tobago House of Assembly. This is the rudeness again. They have it in the bill as the local government and Tobago House of Assembly. So local government is given precedence over the House Tobago. Let us see our status, right? And so that if in 14 days after a primary election, the House is not constituted, then the chief secretary could call a next election. So their idea, in all the conversation going on in Tobago for years, their idea is to send Tobago back to go back after the EBC has done its work and the order has come out, then now they will now do something else to make that law retroactive, to empower Until Dennis to betray his own people. I use the word betray because I'm saying for Tobago to remain under Trinidad in the act, and so eternally, because even though they move to another arm, they move to the bill that they give that London and Charles and them betray Tobago with. Tobago is still under Trinidad. Still under Trinidad. And in fact, at the committee, the Joint Select Committee stage, when the bill left here, one of the bills, I think both of them actually, but the superior idea was for Tobago to vote directly for Chief Secretary and vote for legislators separately. They throw that out because they find that perhaps that must be too advanced in Trinidad. So they throw that out and maintain the same system here, right? So in that way, Tobago will be under them and be under them forever. If we feel that that is the way to do it.
So Mr. James, what advice you think you could expel this evening so that Mr. Duke, so Mr. Duke and his PDP party can learn something and see what they can do or demand from the government of Trinidad?
Mr. Duke has already said that he's not having any more power sharing talk with them. The power sharing talk should not have gone anywhere either, because I'm saying according to the law, the standing orders, after that 3 days after the primary election, and you have had the inaugural meeting, there's nothing else that can be done, because what was supposed to happen according to the law, it was supposed to happen at the inaugural meeting. So that's gone. So we have seen that the way back into the wilderness is closed off. Right? So that the other step now is what Dr. Rowley has done in the parliament. What they're going to do once the EBC has done its work is that the chief secretary will just stay just once. Sorry, Tobagonians, we have an election. I don't know who will respond to that. The PDP
so he doesn't have the right to do that.
He never had the right to even call on the prime minister in the first place. Because remember, what has been done is a legislative work, and the legislature in Tobago is dissolved. So there's no legislature. So he did not get the blessings of a legislature.
So is he a chief sec?
He's a chief sec. He's a holdover chief sec from the last legislature.
Because of the 6.
Right. So that legislature is dissolved. There is no new legislature. If in fact there was a new legislature, then it would have been constituted and we didn't have a crisis. We didn't have this situation that we now have.
Tell us this evening before you go, who has the rights? Is the president, does our president have any power or autonomy?
That is the real issue here. Because I'm saying now, the prime minister does not have, and the parliament do not have the right either. Which law are they using? They couldn't use a law. So what they did, they set up until Dennis to make a public address the nation as it were, and make a call to the prime minister. So it's for them to have a basis. But I'm saying until Dennis didn't do it from any legal basis. This is what this situation is. So I wrote the president and I informed her of that. So I'm saying, because the executive authority is reposed in the presidency, it is only the president could have intervened. It is only the president. And now, if the president intervened, how would she now intervene? This is the question we were asking tonight. No, and Dr. Duke asks us, I'm saying she asks a good question, right? So these are the 3 things we have. We can stay in bondage, which is they will give you a call like fowls in the yard, or go back in pump, or come and eat and go back in pump.
Go back.
That is the bill that they pass in Trinidad. That is the other option, is to do like what exists in America, where each state is equal, independent, and at the federal level, you join in equity. I'm saying that would not fulfill the Tobago dream, and I'm saying I have tried. It is difficult because it is 2, and the 2 are so uneven that it is difficult to constitute. It is virtually impossible. That's where my mind was at first.
2 versus 39.
Right. So you should have the 1.4 million in Tobago with the 60,000 and odd numbers. How are you going to make a federal government between the 2? It's difficult to achieve. It's virtually impossible. So I'm saying really we would not be losing anything if we use the OECS model. The OECS model is in the Caribbean and it is working. There's no need for us to be trying to have being in the same constitution with Trinidad. I'm saying not really necessary. It's absolutely, if you take a time and think it out, it's not necessary. Tobago should have his own government. Trinidad already has his own government. Tobago will be pulling away. I didn't call it secession because I'm very careful with my words. Secession is a term that the PNM came up with to scare Tobagonians and put a bad name on Tobago. So I'm not using that word. That's
the word. So is the word you using is as same as secession?
Well, it's not really, because in my understanding of the secession, you have no relationship with Trinidad. I am not saying that. I am saying that.
So what would we need Trinidad for?
Right.
Under what you plan, what would we need Trinidad for? Would we still be using the same flag, or Tobago having their own flag now?
Tobago, own flag. Trinidad already has a flag. Tobago will be having its own flag.
But the flag is saying Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, but the constitution is saying that too, you know. But we understand that it is really a Trinidad constitution. Remember, Tobago is a ward in that Trinidad. Tobago is a ward in that Trinidad. So
were we a ward of Barbados once?
No, we were never a ward. We had a relationship with Barbados. We never really a ward of Barbados. Maybe not by this. So Tobago and Barbados and Tobago and the Windward Islands had a relationship. But Tobago now, because of the economic incident and decision that took place in 1889 there, the decision actually happened before 1889. It's in the early 1880s, and then they make the link Tobago to Trinidad in 1889, which was properly formalized in 1898. Right?
What advice you have now for Watson, Duke, and Farley?
My advice
from your point of view, these are your views.
Yeah, well, I've been saying it because it's not the program that I do. I'm always on the media here, right? So my advice, I speak for everybody to hear. And I'm saying Tobagonians should not go back into the poll, into jail. The House of Assembly Act under Trinidad represents jail or the pen or the wilderness. That is out of the question. And that is not what is saying. Because if you look, the fact that the law does not permit them to go back, it means therefore that God has carefully and deliberately done this. So he has blocked the way back into the wilderness. God has another plan. And the other plan I'm saying is to go into our promised land. So the promised land cannot be under Trinidad, cannot be under Trinidad rule. So there's only one way we can go, even though we're not brave enough, as the case some people might not brave enough. This is God's doing. God has the ability to take us there. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Where did fear come from? Fear represents irrationality. His idea is to go.
Ignorance.
Right. So God now is saying for us to go forward. It's not that we are disconnecting. We are providing now, or making a civilized. We are making ourselves. We are having a civilized relationship with Trinidad and the world, and doing justice to our own selves, to our own beings. It's only now or then, as the case may be, we will have respect for ourselves and in the world and actually treat one another better. One of the reasons why we're not respecting ourselves in Tobago is because of the whole enslaved, oppressed environment.
So how many people you think have your views and have your understanding in Tobago?
I think the majority of Tobago, because listen to me, when we were rocking on high five there, that was what dominated. That is what caused the TOP to win the 2 seats in 2010.
Talk about it.
Yeah, that is what caused, and they pulled a candidate from my program, Vanilla Ali. The momentum had swung and gone a long time. That wasn't everybody lived till Patrick Manning. Patrick Manning in the House in 2008. And when they were discussing the municipalities corporation amendment bill, Manning said the discussion going on in Tobago can lead to a federation. It can reach Trinidad. It reached the parliament. It reached the prime minister. And Mrs. Posad asked him, when he was looking now to do his local government thing, she asked him, what about Tobago? Are you putting them back into this net? He said, no, I can tell you what is going on. There's a debate going on in Tobago. And it could end up to a federation. So he said, let me carefully I put it. He said there's a regime that governs the conduct of marine business. It is there in the hand side. I could read it out again here. There's a regime that governs the conduct of marine business, the law of the sea. And they have to be careful in the light of such a regime, how they put prescriptions in place that have the potential to break up the unitary state.
So do you think Orville understand where you at and Keith Rowley?
Is this Orville and them who tell Manny what's going on here? That the discussion into the debate in Tobago can lead to what I was saying, what I have been saying. And Mr. Manning is saying, he was telling Kamala, because Kamala was asking. So he was telling her basically let us gang up against Tobago. He said, this is not child's play. This is serious business. It's because you're saying, what you're basically saying is that if the unitary state is broken up now and it becomes a federation, Trinidad will lose all the oil and gas in Tobago's waters. Mr. Manning confessed it in the parliament. But here it is here. You have your own people in ignorance, thinking, well, if we break up, is we at disadvantage? When Trinidad knows or know that they are the ones who will be disadvantaged. So after Mr. Manning finished speeching to you off, he said, I know you honorable members opposite will understand. He said, I know you can. This is not child's play. He said, I know you can. And when you look for the rest of the debate, Mrs. Posad did not say another word. She got the message. Let the two sides, we have a misunderstandings on here, but we can gang up where Tobago is concerned, and they can take the oil and the gas away from Tobago. The question is, do the governments in Trinidad love the people of Tobago, really?
Well, that is a big question you have here.
They really love and respect the people of Tobago. If you respect a man, you will allow the man the right to govern himself. This is what the Caribbean fought for. That was Bob Marley said, every man got a right to decide his own destiny. And in this judgment, there is no partiality. We're not jumping out of the world. We still relate in Trinidad. I have family, most of my family live in Trinidad. Is that Trinidad? My wife is a Trinidadian.
How the relationship will be if we have our own flag, our own this, we want.
Because that's normal in the world. Every state in America has its own flag.
You have to come now. Next week. Next week you can't be here. Next week I already have you for the following week. Next week Wednesday is Watson Duke. We are going to hear directly from Watson Duke on Wednesday coming.
Yes, I will tune in for that.
Please do, because what I wanted you to do on this show and the other shows is to be an aid, a guide. Because what you are asking is a very, very, very serious matter. You are asking for something that the people of Tobago clamoring for. But how many people understand the depth of your wants?